All right, this is Patrick Rogers, and today we have the privilege to have David Ubeda on the show. And David is the CEO of MRDEU Global Media, a small but fierce B2B digital marketing services firm based out of Chicago, Illinois. Welcome to the show, David.
What's going on, big guy? Good to see you.
Awesome. So a little bit about David, just so the listeners can get an idea of this guy's background. David has been featured guest on nationally syndicated news outlets such as NBC, CBS, Fox, USA Today, and more, along with several national and international business-focused podcasts. He's worked with many high-tier organizations like Chicago Bears, NFL Alumni Association, Boys and Girls Club. He's also a featured national author. David's book, Don't Give Up, 5 Keys to Help You Through Life's Holding Patterns, has helped thousands of people find direction when they're feeling stuck in their lives. David's also the host of the popular Life Hacks for Entrepreneurs podcast. So pretty impressive resume there, David. Again, great to have you. Great to have people out there, go-getters, and just people that obviously genuinely care about the work they're doing in society. So before we dive into, the good stuff, man, I always have this icebreaker. So what's one interesting fact not many people know about you, David?
One interesting fact I'd say, and again, thanks for having me, Patrick, is that I'm a huge fan of bodybuilding. And in 2014, I actually entered and competed in a bodybuilding contest. Yes, I donned the Speedos. Yes, I did.
No.
Oh
gosh, I don't even want to. I was kidding.
I know. I was it was 20 weeks of prep. I trained for 3 years. The way that it all happens, I've always been a fan, but back in 2010, I was in Gold's Gym in Vegas. I had just finished attending the Mr. Olympia contest.
Okay.
And Jay Cutler, the bodybuilder, walks into Gold's Gym where I was training, and many of the other competitors were there too. And I walk in and I see all these fitness models, and I'm like, did I just die and go to heaven? Like, what is going on here? This is Gold's Gym, and all of these super fit people. Again, walks in Jay Cutler with the Sandow, and it was a dream of mine. I've never seen a bigger human in my life. This guy was
he's just massive.
Yeah. And the nicest guy. And I said to myself after we chatted, it's always been on my bucket list. I want to go ahead and train for a contest naturally, and then just don the Speedos and, conquer my fear. And that's what I did. It took me 4 years. I trained for about 3.5. The prep lasted 20 weeks, 2 gallons of water a day, 7 meals a day, training.
Wow.
And it was one of the most challenging experiences of my life, but I'm glad. And I actually took 2nd place. Can you believe that?
That is fantastic. Congrats, man. That is awesome. I feel like I'm training for that, but I'm following that diet and workout structure, but just don't seem to quite get the progress. Actually, it's funny though. I actually just started taking testosterone because because I noticed over these last 2 years, man, I've just been like slowing the hell down. And no matter what I do, no matter what I eat, I couldn't find the energy and I wasn't building muscle. I'm 47. So, that shit goes out the window, I guess, when you're in your 40s.
Yeah. As soon as after you pass like your 30s, your testosterone levels start to decrease. And I discovered in a very, very non-masculine way that I needed to take some testosterone pills like so nowadays I chew them like chiclets, you know what I mean? I'm popping them like popcorn. So I was watching Finding Dory with my kids at the time.
Don't tell me you started crying.
I started crying to the film, like, what the hell is going on? What kind of voodoo are you practicing here, children? Where's your father? Right? Like, what are you doing here? And sure enough, I was an emotional wreck, and I realized something's wrong here. And then I started to see my strength and stuff decrease over time. And I'm like, let me go ahead and start taking some testosterone boosters.
Boosters,
for guys who have like that are really deficient in that area, which happens, naturally, they can take shots and treatments for that. But thankfully, I've just needed the boosters, and I haven't cried at films in a long time.
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you for being vulnerable on that. That's why.
I hope
um,
you're editing this piece out, right?
yeah, nope. Well, cool, man. So bodybuilding, testosterone, we're off to a good start on business. No, this is good. So tell us more about your company, man, and what you guys do.
Yeah, for the past 6 years, 2015, we started late 2015, so it's 7 years now. We've been in the lead generation slash booking appointments for clients
Yep.
space.
Okay.
And so LinkedIn is huge and notorious for having like one every 3 seconds, bombarding your messaging and stuff like that with that.
Yep.
But what people don't know is that LinkedIn, if you actually leverage it the right way, you can grow yourself a 6, 7, 8-figure business, simply because you're able to see LinkedIn for what it is, which is a huge data source. You've got emails, you've got all of the majority of the decision makers on that platform, depending on the size of the business, are on there often, frequently.
Yeah.
It's not just an employment site,
Right.
but
No.
you got over 800 million profiles. And you've got close to 60 million small businesses on Sales Navigator alone. And you've got a bunch of those businesses that need some support, whether they're in a bad rut, or they're looking to scale, or they're already, seeing a lot of success and just need to offset or outsource work or whatnot. So all of these companies there's always an opportunity to serve them and try and help solve whether growing pains or companies that are on life support. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, LinkedIn's what I use for generating any and all business for myself too. So is that specifically? I would imagine that's B2B only then, right? Through LinkedIn.
Yeah, you've got to provide a service, not a product. B2C is usually best for like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, things like that. That's not to say that those other platforms you can't generate business from it, because we have, but our playground has been LinkedIn.
Sure.
We've noticed that the calls that are booked, the caliber of conversations that we're able to have with business owners from LinkedIn, or decision makers from LinkedIn, there is no other platform that comes even close in terms of the caliber of the individual that's really looking to change things in their business.
Yeah. So you have, it sounds like you've really kind of perfected your sauce, right? Your secret sauce in being able to generate interest and leads, and even sounds like an interest for conversions from LinkedIn, which I can imagine probably most of our listeners here, if they're B2B, would be extremely interested in learning more about how you've been able to do that. And I realize we don't want to, we can't give all the secret sauce, but what's, high level, man, if you're a CEO listening to this and you're a B2B, what would be like your overarching strategy that you guys put in place to be successful? Because obviously you've done it for your business as well too, right?
Yeah, we've worked now with over 300 clients from the LinkedIn platform.
And you've developed those all from LinkedIn. So your personal clients, and you've gotten all them for your business from LinkedIn.
For my business. Yeah, for MRDEU Global Media, yeah.
But at the same time, your clients that come on board, you're then turning around and helping them with their LinkedIn lead generation strategy.
We use the same strategy. The exact strategy that has gotten us to the dance is the same one that we perform for our clients. Yes.
Well, and it's crazy, man, because I get that you mentioned it before, and I'll get back to, I just asked a question and then I stole it back from you, but I get bombarded. You mentioned before, you get bombarded by people on LinkedIn, and dude, I used to be like, oh yeah, I'll accept your invite. And now I carefully read them and I look at their thing, just because 1 out of 2 of them is people saying, oh, we'll help you generate leads, LinkedIn or this or that. And so, you and I had a long conversation, and I could definitely tell there's a huge difference. But yeah, man, I'll turn it back over to you. And yeah.
Yeah. So one of the big kind of the tools or shifts in our strategy, most people, like you just said, they'll send out an invitation. Hey, Patrick, saw you on LinkedIn, thought we should connect. And that, when I get those, I'm like, why? Why do you need to connect with me? Right? What's the point? And the reality is, if I'm going to be honest and authentic, I have to ask myself, why wouldn't I accept that invitation? Because the bottom line is, I don't know how you can benefit my life with them. Maslow's
Where's the
hierarchy of
value?
needs.
Yeah, with them.
Yeah. Well, why am I going to let you in my space? Why am I going to spend time when I have no idea how you could benefit my life? And I'm hoping that comes out clear. All of us have that perspective. It's like, why? How are you going to help me?
Yeah.
If I don't know right off the cuff, then what's the point? So
sure.
our approach,
We're busy. We're busy
we
people.
are. We're strapped time-wise.
Right.
So two things. Number one, the big shift for us was utilizing a sales funnel. And the sales funnel is what we drive our traffic to. And the sales funnel is actually what we give our clients a copy of. We just swap the copy and adjust it to their offer, their VSL, things like that. That is going to prime a prospective client and help them understand what's in it for them. That you get it, that you understand what they're struggling with. That's the whole point. And so when I have an opportunity to jump on that page or send a prospect who's looking for lead gen services, for example, what separates us is that we go the extra mile and build out a sales funnel, a digital asset for them that they can use on any platform. So with LinkedIn specific, you've got a complete stranger who will get your message with value-based messaging, which is our messaging approach. We don't ever pitch anything. Value-based messaging. Make sure that that person who's never heard of you before sees that there's a reason on as to why I should at least open this message, because I'm seeing value in the first message. Then you drive them to a sales funnel. And if the sales funnel is done well, done the right way, the framework is what we suggest, then you're going to have someone literally say, I've never heard of Patrick before, but because I've just seen this demo and the components on those landing pages that support trust building, then they're going to be like, you know what? Three things are going to happen. They're either going to say yes, or they're going to say no, or they're going to say not now. But they've already opted in to the funnel, and they can stay in your radar. And that's ultimately what it is. So I don't hold back. It's not rocket science. It's just that we've got it dialed in now to the point where, from the funnel's perspective, our funnel is gold, and it works every time.
Wow, that's fantastic. So when you say sales funnel, so converting them, taking them from LinkedIn and getting them onto your email autoresponder in some form or fashion. So sending them to some kind of a landing page or something where you give them some kind of value in return for their email address, and now they're on your funnel, right?
Yeah, and we don't ever suggest sending people to a website because, squirrel syndrome is real. You've got all these tabs and they're like, oh, and then, nothing ever gets done. So when you have a sales funnel designed specifically to facilitate one conversation, then they're given the opportunity to take a look at what you have to offer. But even that VSL demo has to follow a specific framework so that it moves the emotional needle and really communicates to that prospect, hey, you know what? I understand your pain.
Yeah.
I get it. And I've been there, and I've helped XYZ number of clients, or I've helped this case study or this case study with this particular problem. And then on LinkedIn, we have to know that the consumers on LinkedIn, they're educated. So it's not that they want to be entertained per se. They want to be educated. Say, hey, show me a strategy, help me connect the dots, give me some context on as to whether I should even have a conversation with you.
Right.
And with that demo, you're going to provide that context to make sure that they, again, understand that you get their pain, but as part of the framework, you're giving them a strategy, a glimpse of a strategy that is repeatable, that's duplicatable, and that yields results. So that's in a nutshell what we do.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to echo something you said there, or re-hit on it, because that's been huge for my experience as well. I did SEO like 10 years ago before Google got their act together and prevented spamming and all that stuff. But so when you said to never send them to a website, that I think that's gold right there. Because a lot of even marketers do it. There's lots of marketers out there that will do some kind of a, even ads or Google ads or whatever, and then send them to a website. And like you said, when you go to a website, they can do anything but the one thing that you want them to do. So same as that landing page is much more effective in conversions.
Even with SEO in place, which obviously the objective is more eyeballs on your content.
Yeah.
But even then, if you are driving them to a site that doesn't have a mechanism in place for them to learn more or
Mm,
to engage with you in the form of an email or a phone number or a download of some type, if they don't have a reason to engage with you and take them off that site into a funnel or a conversation,
yeah.
then what's the point? It's a waste
Right.
of time.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us, so when I think about, typically when I think about like sales funnels, just for some reason, I generally go to lower ended or lower investment products for some reason, and I could be totally off on this. Tell us about, is there certain investment range or price range where, or calling to a certain level of people where, CEOs aren't going to opt into something, or, once you get to the range where your investment is like 50, 100,000, extremely high, is there anything there where your likelihood of getting someone to invest or exchange their email and opt into a sales funnel is just doesn't happen, doesn't work?
I think the way that most people go about it, which is to try and present value in the form of a number, is what repels people because it feels very salesy. I think when you're creating copy or a demo video of some type, the offer is the transformation. That's what catches people's attention. So, for example, if I said, "Hey, Patrick, let's say we're going to go golfing, and
Yeah.
you've been feeling these like just absolutely excruciating knee pains when you wake up in the morning, and then your joints are like jacked up, and you're only 40 in your 40s, and you're feeling like you're 80 when you wake up in the morning. It's like I feel like this is not going to be a good day, right? So sure enough, we're going to go golfing, and I say, Patrick, does it feel like this, or is your range of motion limited like this? Have you felt like this when you do this? You're going to be like, wait a minute, have you had this before? And I'm
Mm,
going to say, yes, I remember when I such and such, and this was happening. I was going through this suffering, and sure enough, I bought this pill of these green pills that cost me $2,000, but I've never had any pain since. Chances
mm.
are, your next question is going to be, where did you get those pills? Right?
Yeah, totally.
Same thing with great marketing. It's got to be where you're communicating to that prospect, where they read your ad or your copy and they're like, wait a minute, get out of my head, Patrick. What are you doing? This guy understands me.
Yeah.
What? So you're going to engage them with the actual problem itself, because the problem makes the sale. It's not our solution, it's the problem. The problem in our ability to communicate that we get it is
Yeah.
going to engage them to say, you know what? Let me hear what Patrick has to say. And when you
Mm,
have that conversation, then you
yeah.
can go ahead and talk a little bit more about the solution when the time is right. But in essence, we don't go about saying, hey, this costs that. It's all about telling the story and about communicating that we get it.
Man, I love that, because so many people don't understand true marketing and true, a lot of people's websites or in their marketing that they say what they do, and that's about it. They speak to the feature or whatever that their product or service offers. And what they don't understand, like you just so skillfully said, that conversation occurring inside our ideal prospect and appealing to their problems and their needs, man, that alone, if someone was to take that and just start changing around their messaging, that would result, I'm sure, in massive increases in conversions.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's every call that we have, Patrick. It should feel like it's two old friends catching up over drinks, man. That is how relaxed and how engaged someone should feel or normally feels when they have a call with us as a result of our strategy. And I'm not just, and this is the honest to God truth. How many times have I said, man, I saw your video, or I heard this podcast that you were on, or I saw this article, or I read
Yeah.
your book, or
Yeah.
whatever the case is, and I really like what you're doing. And they're just more interested, more intentional about having a great conversation at that point. And I tell folks from the first opening 30 seconds, it's like, hey, listen, I don't know if I can help you or not, but I'm going to ask you some questions. And
Yeah.
based upon our discussion here, if you've got a problem that I can help you solve, or if you got goals that I can help you reach, we can take a closer look at what that looks like. But if not, if you would allow me, I'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction if for some reason I can't help.
Yeah.
Same philosophy.
Yeah. Man, very cool. There's so much good stuff in that alone. One of the other questions that that you and I had talked about before, what the biggest failure is that you learn from being a CEO, and is that you said not creating a safe place for your team to fail and succeed. I'd love to, if you could, to tell us a little bit more about that and what happened there, and tell us more about that story.
Yeah, I've invested extensively in the whole leadership piece because great leaders know how to lead themselves first. And so when in the process of becoming a great leader, you have to be ready, willing, and really courageous enough to evaluate how you're showing up. And so one of the key things over the years as it relates to developing myself as a leader that's been important to me is self-assessment. And I realized that I have to be more open to feedback and not take it as a personal attack, or take it as a sign of failure, or take it as that I'm not, quote unquote, good enough. If anything, the fact that I'm even in this leadership position, it tells me that I am good enough. But it's more so the opportunity to invest and create a safe space for other people who are coming to me for either advice or coaching or direction, that they feel safe enough to be able to speak their minds from their perspective. I have my own perspective in my own life, life experiences that have given me the perspective that I have. They have their own. And believe it or not, my team, they're about half my age.
Huh.
And that's by design.
Yeah.
Because they bring a fresh perspective to me that I did not have, and I was not open to. But the moment I realized, hey, wait a minute, I want to put myself in a position where I am constantly learning, and that it's an ongoing conversation on both sides, right? So I realized that through feedback, when I started opening that up, that people were afraid to talk to me or tell me the truth. And we can't have a relationship that is thriving.
Yeah.
Whether it be, life, love, or business, we can't have any type of thriving relationship if we don't create a safe space to be able to welcome feedback. Because before I used to say you're just being critical. No, that's just their feedback from their perspective. Thank them for it. And if it's something that resonates, and I tell you, the last thing I'll say about this is that most of the time I would say, oh, you're wrong.
Interesting. Yeah.
You're full of shit. That was my response. But the reality is, no, I was not brave enough at that moment, at that time, to accept that and look at that flaw in the mirror. But the moment that I did, that allowed me to really grow and allow the relationships in my life, love and business, to flourish, because I wasn't taking things so critical. I wasn't being so sensitive about things. It was like, listen, everyone has the right to communicate, but how much more rich will my life be if I actually open myself up to the feedback of other people who have different perspectives?
I love that. And there's something you said there, have the bravery to look at your own flaws, look at yourself in the mirror and look at those own flaws. So let me ask before we move on to the next step or our next topic, but how did you create that safe space for your team?
I owned it. I owned it and told them the truth. I said, listen, man, if I'm going to be blunt, this is how I talk with the team. I said, look, I have created a shitty environment here. Okay.
Wow. Just came right out with that, right? Like, raise my hand. Like, I have created a shitty environment. Okay.
Just right out. Said, I have not been leading well.
Yeah.
And I want to own the fact that I have not been doing that. I have been full of myself. I have not taken into account the value that you bring to the table, the fact that you work so hard here, the fact that you are sharing your time and energy and efforts in this business. And I just owned it, man. And I apologized. I asked them to forgive me. And I said, going forward, I want to create this space. And so you share the vision. You tell them, I want to create a safe place so that you can share with me your thoughts, your insight, If we're on calls and you see that I could do something better, I want you to know that I trust you enough to hear your feedback, because I want to grow. I want to be better. And ultimately, not only are we going to grow, but our clients are going to be the recipient of just excellent work, because we're functioning as a cohesive unit. And it's all about creating win-win situations. And so really, that's how I did it. Just went out and say, listen, man, I dropped the ball.
Yeah, dude. Well, just I just want to commend you for that vulnerability and that humility to do that. There's many it's tough for us as humans to do that. And so if anybody listening to this, man, I take notes, man. Write down what he's talking about, and really, next time you look yourself in the mirror, ask that same question. Am I providing that safe space for my people? So awesome nuggets, man. So one of the things I always ask on during the interviews is, if you were going to hire a CEO to take the reins for your company, what's the one book that you would require that he or she read before taking over for you? And for you, I'll go ahead and what would that be for you, man?
I Hope I Screw This Up by Kyle Cease.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows on the show, I always ask that question a week or two in advance, and then I go and read the book myself. And so I'd love to know what are some of your biggest takeaways, and how that book has really influenced you. And I've got some thoughts on it too, because man, that was an amazing book, and I was really, really moved by it. So I'd love to know your biggest takeaways and how it's impacted you.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you're enjoying it, man. Every single person I've recommended the book to has given me nothing but positive feedback. But the biggest takeaway I had from the book was I felt like the pressure was off. I feel like just
Wow.
just the title itself, I Hope I Screw This Up. Just that alone, it's funny, but at the same time, it's like as a high performance type of a CEO,
Yeah.
driven for results, leadership,
Right.
this, that. No, I don't want to screw this up, because we are, as leaders, measured by the screw ups, our history, what we're known for on the earth, our reputations could be the screw up. You could do 99 things right. Number 100 is one thing you jack up, and all the 99 things are gone out
Oh,
the
out the
window.
window.
Out the window.
Yeah,
It's over
totally.
with. Like, you're
Totally.
remember for that one knucklehead decision,
Yeah.
and your life, your reputation at that point is just that one thing.
And that's all we like, that we just ferment on it and allow it to get us and bring us down and right.
Yeah, and then we start to take on that identity, and
Yeah.
then we start to spiral.
Mm.
But when I read that book, it was like, man, there is an emotional attachment that I had, and also a validation type of an attachment that I had to success and or achievement, like getting the master's degree, like getting enrolled into a doctorate degree in leadership, specifically halfway done with that. And my intention was, I want to be validated because of those things. You have to reach 5 figures. You have to reach 6 figures. You have to reach 7 figures. You have to drive the Mercedes. You have to live in this. You have, like, all of this stuff. I realized that, when you're on your deathbed, is that really going to matter? It's like, no.
Who the hell's going to care? Nobody.
At all.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
yeah.
So the book just helped me just reframe and kind of like just come back to the basics and realize, you know what? The pressure is off. Give yourself a chance to actually enjoy your life. Every aspect of it, the good, the highs, the lows, the fights, the makeups, the love, the everything. Give you a chance to enjoy that. So the book really helped me just take the weight off, the stress off, and just be more present and really understand that it's okay. Failure is not final. Like, it's a part of the journey. Learn from it. You're going to actually learn faster, which coined the term fail faster.
Sure.
You learn a lot faster in that sense.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's so many amazing portions of the book. The presence was a huge one. And for me, with my spiritual journey and everything else I've been going down, there's so many things guiding me to this concept of just be present with whatever the fuck you're doing, man. Just be present. And we're in this society of multitasking and getting things done, and like you said, success and but when the day's done, if we can honestly just focus on being present with whatever we're doing or whoever we're doing and connecting, we're gonna be so much more successful, and working on our inner selves. One of the things he said on here is, as you keep going deeper into yourself, you start making decisions from what does the world want instead of what do I, the individual, want. And that one, that just hit me hard. That one hit
Yeah,
me good.
because we're all connected. We're
We're
all
all
connected,
connected.
man. And so the reality is that we have the opportunity to be able to contribute in a way that we were born and designed, created to do here on the
Yeah.
earth while we're here on the earth. So why not enjoy it, be present? And when I am present, it gives me the opportunity to be more authentic. And it really allows me to connect with those that I love, because especially in this day and age, I think the greatest gift I can give those I love is my attention, my presence, being
Man, I
present.
love that.
You know,
Yeah.
you could be present on a Zoom call or being present in person, right? But I mean, I get it. I shouldn't say this, but I'm working on it. You know, when my girl's like, "Can you put your phone down?" Right? And I'm like, "Okay, you're right." And I've asked her to challenge me in
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
areas. Like, if you
That's
see me,
cool. Yeah.
paying too much of this and I'm not present, please, you have the right. I ask you to please do that, because sometimes, as CEOs, we're putting out fires left and right. But when it's time to spend that time with our loved ones, put the
Yeah.
phone down and just be present.
Yeah, man. One of the, I'll say, I'll just kind of tag on to what you're saying. My daughter has been probably one of the best teachers for me in the importance of presence.
Mm.
And when you show up as a man and you're not showing up, the disappointment in her face when she sees that you didn't hear what she just said, and she's looking at you like, "Daddy." So that's my past. that's
Man,
that's
but that
gone,
is
right?
truthfully,
But it sounds like you can relate to it. So
oh yeah. I mean,
yeah.
imagine our daughters love us so much, because here's the thing, like with everyone else, they could give, they don't give a crap, right? I'm saying, but if it's their dads, how we speak, how we show up, the attention we give them,
Absolutely.
if they don't feel that from us, man,
Mm,
it's like it just breaks their heart, and it's never a good feeling.
yeah, totally 100% resonate, man. So David, it was awesome having you on the show. I want to summarize a couple things that we talked
Yeah.
about. Number one, bodybuilding, right? All right, so we
Speedos,
talked
baby, Speedos.
Speedos, yes, yeah. So lots of coconut oil and Speedos. So the LinkedIn strategy alone, man, I that's going to be gold for anybody who's B2B. But we talked about focusing on the benefit, focusing on value-based messaging, getting into the conversation that's occurring inside your target prospect's head, focusing on their needs, desires, and talking to them in their language, utilizing that sales funnel, and not ever really driving somebody to a website, utilizing landing pages. And we talked about how in your leadership, how you've really been successful at creating a safe space for your team, and in the past how you haven't shown up correctly, and how important it is to be able to look in the mirror and have that bravery to look at your own flaws in the mirror. And obviously the last thing from that book was the importance of presence and authenticity with those in our lives. So amazing things there. David, let me ask you, if there was one takeaway that you'd really want the audience to absorb, up and coming CEOs and leaders and managers, what would that be?
Oh man, like one takeaway. I would have to say it really is not being afraid to fail, and accepting. One of the principles in bodybuilding that I learned was when we were training, and I hired an IFBB pro as my trainer for those 20 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And what I loved about the purpose of every training session, it wasn't to get buff, it wasn't to get swole per se. It was to fail. It was to take that muscle to failure. And it's intentional. It's not accidental. He intentionally was saying, David, you're going to do this. We're going to intentionally cause that muscle to fail, because when you take that muscle to failure, you give that muscle room to take on a different design, a different shape. You give it what it needs.
Dude, that's
Do you hear
profound.
Do you hear what I'm saying?
That's profound.
So you're giving it that space, that room, so that it takes on a different shape. Could be bigger, could be leaner, whatever the focus of your training is, could be stronger. But then you have the opportunity after the training session, within that hour window, to then nourish it, to heal it, to give it the nutrients needed so that it can keep that newly found identity, if you will.
Yeah.
So the biggest takeaway I can tell that I would leave aspiring CEOs or leaders is to intentionally fail. Put yourself in positions where you intentionally fail, because that's going to give you the room, the space to grow in ways that you never thought possible.
Very cool, man. Awesome. So David, if any of our listeners wanted to reach out and get a hold of you for any questions they might have about today's podcast or to utilize your services, how would they do that?
Yeah, man, davidubeda.com, DAVIDUBEDA.com. And, if they reach out to me, man, please let us know that you heard us on Patrick's, on the podcast here. And again, man, thank you so much for having me on. I'm a big fan. Thank you.
Awesome, Dave. Thanks again for being on the show. And for you out there, please hit the like and subscribe button and help us spread the word about the show and what we're doing here. And with that, we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Later.